Spring, summer, or September, I'll still be waiting for my man. What do you mean his parole officer said he's not coming? He is coming. No, give him 2 more hours. He's coming. Hold on, let me call him again. Hold on.
3 hours later.
I'm still on hold. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Raphael and I am here to review episode 5 of the... Okay. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Raphael and I am here to review... Hey everybody, welcome to my... Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Raphael and I'm here to review episode 5 of The Real Housewives Whose Boyfriend Don't Show Up of Atlanta. Before anything, I wanted to share something that happened within the last 24 hours. So yesterday, I decided to go to the West Hollywood Pride Parade here in California. And as I was there, you know, everybody was having a good time. Everybody was enjoying themselves. All the floats were going by. The music was fun. Everybody was having a good time, right? So there was this one float that was passing by and there was a bunch of drag queens on it dressed as Cardi B, the rapper. And as I'm looking at all of them, I'm like, okay, this outfit is nice. I remember that outfit. Okay, that outfit is iconic. There was one person specifically in the middle that I'm looking at and I'm like, wait a minute, that person seems very familiar, and come to find out it was Cardi B herself. And I'm like, what? She is here because there was no announcement or any type of lineup or any type of, you know, like promotion that Cardi B was actually going to be there at the parade. So this came out of left field and I'm like, wow, that is Cardi B. So everybody started noticing. They all started swarming the float that she was on. They were all trying to get pictures. Security was like really strict around her. Of course, they have to be. They have to keep her safe. She was having such a good time. She looked so beautiful, so pretty. She was just a really good time from what I was seeing. She was dancing. She was having fun with everybody. And I believe she had on a rainbow glittery jumpsuit. She looked really pretty. So this is where things got interesting because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm curious. Like, let me get a little closer. Let me act like a groupie. So I'm getting closer and she has like this can of whipped cream, right? It's the thing that she promotes. I believe it's called Whip It shots or something like that. A whipped cream with like a shot of tequila or something like that with alcohol inside it. So she gets off the float and I'm like, uh-oh, so let's see how this goes. She goes around and she starts giving everybody shots in the mouth of whipped cream. Like, just here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go. And I'm like, oh, maybe I could get one. So I get a little bit closer, right? You know, again, I'm trying to be a groupie. And I'm like, okay, let's see, because how am I going to get around her security guard? You know, obviously, I don't want to do anything crazy to her. I just want to, you know, be like, hey, Cardi, can I get a whip shot? So as I'm approaching her, I believe she was giving a shot to somebody. And I find like a little moment to like kind of like sneak in. And I'm like, Cardi, I was like, me. And then I quickly like just open my mouth. And I'm like, wow, Raphael, like, what kind of whore are you? Just opening your mouth so freely to a stranger. Well, not a stranger, but Cardi B, but like you don't even know this person and you're just like, ah. So I open up my mouth and she looks at me and she puts the little whipped cream in my mouth and she sprays it all over. Mind you, I don't even like whipped cream like that, nor do I really like sweets, but I'm like, okay, anything for Cardi B, right? So then I swallow it. She got it all over my shirt. I'll put a video here. Like I managed to record it. I don't even know how I managed to record it because it happened all so fast. I mean, it all happened within like a couple of seconds, like maybe like 3-4 seconds. But I managed to record something before her security guard kind of grabbed me and kind of just threw me away, which is understandable. You know, again, she was trying to give everybody love, so she gave me a couple of seconds of love, but I just thought it was like crazy. I'm like, wow, I really got to, you know, get a shot from Cardi B herself. And after that, I believe the shirt that I was on, it had a huge stain. I was gonna wear it for this video, but I'm like, no, let me not, because, you know, it looks like I got something else on my chest. And so what if I did? But I'll add a little video here. And the other thing too, minus that, the whole parade itself was fun, but I'm not sure if anybody could see that I look very red on camera. I'm not sure if it's like picking it up, but I look very red. So if I look like Louis from, you know, The Real Housewives of New Jersey, Teresa's husband, it's because I got sunburned and my head right now, as I touch it or even put water or anything on it, it's like burning. It's like putting alcohol on a wound. That's how badly it is, because I, of course, being a dumbass, I went and I didn't even bother putting on any type of sun lotion or sunscreen or anything. So now all of it is red. Look at this. It hurts. I just showered and I'm like, let me get in the water. And it burned me. I'm like, yikes, it's a horrible feeling. But I just wanted to share that. And also, I completely been meaning to explain this to somebody on this camera. But a couple of days ago, well, like last week or 2 weeks ago, I ran into Jackie Christie from Basketball Wives. That was a very interesting experience as well. I was doing something and all of a sudden I hear somebody talking next to me and I'm like, wait a minute, why does that voice sound so familiar? Again, if anybody watches Basketball Wives, you'll know Jackie Christie's voice. And I'm like, I know that voice. And I look over and I'm like, that is Jackie. I was like, Jackie. And she looks over and I'm like, hey. And then she was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, I was just really starstruck because I didn't expect her to be right in front of me. I was like, oh, wow, like Jackie, you know, she's cool. I mean, she's a lot, but she's cool. And of course, in Jackie fashion, I think she was getting on a plane to go somewhere. And I'm like, okay, Jackie. And then she's like, okay, I gotta go. And then she ran away. I'm like, typical Jackie, but that's all I wanted to share. I had a really good time at the Pride parade yesterday. It was a really, really good time. And again, excuse my burnness on my face and just everything because obviously I see that I'm red and it hurts. We start the episode off right where we left off with Sheree talking to Drew and Ralph, her husband, to their faces and telling them, you know, your assistant, Anthony, he's actually been texting me and saying that your husband, Ralph, is actually secretly gay behind your back. So I'm not sure how you feel about that. Drew, I kind of expected her to be like, wait, Sheree, show me the receipts. Oh, wow, that really is his phone number. And he really is talking about my husband. You know what? Let me text him right now. I expected her to text Anthony right then and there, like, your services are no longer needed. You're fired. But what does she do? She doubles back and she's like, Sheree, I mean, Anthony, yeah, he may have done one thing, but I feel like you're being really, really messy. And I'm like, Drew, like, messy. Like, I mean, yeah, Sheree's being messy by repeating everything that Anthony had told her. But I mean, the fact is that he still said these things and you're just okay with that. Like, no, I'm surprised Ralph was just so cool about it. Ralph was just like, how did I get involved in it? And I'm like, come on now, this is a man that you let be in your house or stay at your house, I'm not sure. And you pay him, allegedly, for his services to do what? I'm not really sure. But I mean, and still, you're just okay with that. And I'm like, okay, I guess turn it around on Sheree. Sheree's just like, yeah, but he's the one that's texting me. He's texting me. You know, I'm not the one that's going around spreading all of this. Kind of like how you and Candy were talking about me behind my back, saying, oh, I don't pay people. The thing that Anthony was telling Drew. So I'm like, okay, the common denominator here is what's his name? Anthony. Anthony is being the messy one, yet nobody is pointing fingers at him. Nobody is blaming him. They're just blaming it on each other and on Candy. Candy's just like, now why am I involved? So then Sheree tried to, you know, direct the arrow at Candy, and she's like, I don't really like how neither one of you were talking behind my back. Like, that's just not cool. And I'm like, Sheree, it's not cool that you're, you know, throwing out what Anthony said about Ralph to his face right here and there, trying to take a dig at him. It's not that's disrespectful right there. So you know what? Save it. So then Candy, she's like, well, hold on, wait a minute, Sheree. I don't think that me and Drew are really gossiping behind your back like that. And then Sheree's just like, I just feel like you were really like talking behind my back, like saying that I don't pay people. It really hurt my feelings, Candy. I thought Candy was gonna go back and forth with Sheree, but she was just like, okay, I mean, it's fine, Sheree. I mean, if I hurt your feelings or if you feel some type of way, then I'm so sorry for doing that. I won't ever talk behind your back with Drew. And I'm just like, okay, so they squashed that. And then Sonya adds her 2 medals in and she's like, wait. I want to secure my peach for next season. And she's like, I just don't really like how Drew, you didn't really apologize to Sheree for putting your hand in her face at Kenya's event and doing the most and, you know, trying to instigate a fight. And I'm like, now, Sonya, I mean, yeah, she has some valid points to this episode, you know, feeling some type of way about Drew and saying, oh, you know, I just don't understand why Drew, she sticks up for her assistant so badly when he's trash talking her husband, yet she lets all of it slide and she's always coming at Sheree or somebody else when it's really Anthony the issue. I get what Sonya was trying to say, but I mean, Sonya, it's really not that serious. Like, Sonya was at a 10 on this episode with Drew, and I'm like, why? I mean, I get it. You could be upset, but maybe calm it down to like maybe a 4 or a 5, but Sonya was at a 10, and I'm like, relax. I don't know what those gold medals have on them, but like, relax. So then Drew, she talks to Sheree and she's like, Sheree, I am so sorry for putting my hand in your face. I don't know why I do that. You know, I just talk with my hands in people's faces. And I'm like, yeah, Drew, that's not good because Sheree, I don't think she's the one that you could just be putting your fingertips in her face. Sheree's like, okay, it's fine. It's understandable. They shake hands and that's that. Right. So then I believe somebody gets a text message. Right. And I started looking at my phone and I'm like, where's my phone at? That buzzing sound was so loud. And I'm like, what is that? Come to find out, it was Kenya. She was getting a text message from Mark, her ex-husband. Or I'm not sure if that really is her ex-husband, her husband currently, but she's not with him. And he's texting her like, oh, can you come pick up Brooklyn, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, typical trash bag husband. Like, I can't believe Mark. But then again, yes, I can. So then Kenya, she's like, you know what? I'm going to excuse myself for a second. She gets up. And, side note, Kenya looks so good in that brown latex outfit that she had on. She looks so good. And she's just walking away, sashaying away in slow motion. She's just like, hold on, guys. I'm going to go talk to Mark. Look at my ass while I walk away. She's just walking away in slow motion like a bad bitch. I'm like, okay, Kenya, she needed any reason to just walk away so people could see her. So then she walks away. And then I believe Marlo, she walks behind her, and Marlo's just like, well, Kenya, tell me what happened. What happened with Mark? What? Let me look at the text messages. Wow, he wants you to go pick up Brooklyn? I can't believe this. That's unbearable, unspeakable. What a man that is. And Kenya's like, I just don't understand that. I mean, he wanted to spend time with Brooklyn, yet now he's trying to, turn his back on her, and he's trying to be like, oh, Kenya, can you come over to Brooklyn and pick up Brooklyn? Like, I have to go do something. I have to go pick up work. Now, I don't really know how it works like that in a marriage or with custody battles or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure that Mark, he can't just text Kenya and just be like, oh, can you come pick up your daughter, or our daughter in this case, and just take her away like anytime he wants? Like, is that okay? I mean, again, I'm not sure how that works, but I'm pretty sure if Kenya was just like, no, I'm not doing that, I'll pick her up tomorrow or in 2 days, is that okay? Or legally, is that not okay? Again, I'm not sure, but it's messed up because, again, Mark, this is what you wanted, and now that you have it, you don't want it. So then Kenya, her excuse is, well, I don't really want to, deprive her from her time with her dad, Mark, because she needs self-esteem. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that, Kenya, but at the same time, even though Brooklyn is still young enough to not really fully understand maybe that Mark is kind of rejecting her and throwing her back over to you, and she's like, these 2 seconds with Brooklyn was nice, but you need to go back with your mom. Over time, her self-esteem will be affected that way as well if he continues that pattern. Let's say she's like 7, 9, and she's more understanding of, her surroundings, and she's seeing what her father is doing. Like, her father just wants to spend like 5 minutes with her just to say that, oh, I got to spend time with my daughter, and then he throws her right back at you. That's gonna also bruise her self-esteem, and she's gonna feel like, oh, well, now I'm not wanted by anybody, only my mom. Like, my dad constantly rejects me, and all I do is just talk about him nicely and love him, yet he's always throwing me back over to Kenya. Again, I'm not sure if that will continue on or that's his pattern, but again, that's also another thing that could affect her self-esteem. So Marlo convinces Kenya to come back to the table, and she's like, you know what, forget Mark for the night. Like, we're all having a good time. Don't let him burst your bubble. So they all come back to the table, and that's something I did like about Marlo and Kenya right here and there. I mean, we just saw them kind of going back and forth with each other like 2-3 episodes ago. Yet here is Marlo, being a shoulder for Kenya to cry on. She's like, you know what, even though we had our issues, I'm still going to be there for you. So I did like that aspect of Marlo and Kenya, and I feel like it's sincere. Now, it's sincere until that reunion happens. And then next thing you know, Marlo's going to be low blowing Kenya left and right. But, for now, it's cute. So then they get back to the table. We all thought that everything was going to be fine and okay, right? And I believe Sonia starts up with Sheree. She's like, Sheree, so wait, are we going to meet Tyrone tomorrow? And I'm like, wow, Sonia, like, you really are gripping onto that peach really tightly for next season. But okay, so then Sheree, I noticed that, I've always noticed, but Sheree, when she gets uncomfortable or when she starts to lie, she starts, like kind of jumbling all over her words. And she's like, he's coming to New York tomorrow. We put in a request and 100 miles, and I think we made it like just about spring summer joggers. So he's definitely coming. I think, but I'm not sure, but he's definitely coming. No, he's not coming at all, but he's for sure coming. And I'm like, Sheree, what's your answer? Is he coming or he's not? Sheree, I feel like she kind of already in the back of her head knew that he wasn't going to come. And she tells Candy, I don't think he's going to be able to stay because I don't think he's going to be able to go to the play. I'm not sure what her reason was. I believe the radius of the Broadway or something. I'm not sure, but damn, that is a terrible way to live. I feel so sorry for Sheree and Tyrone. I still don't know what he's done to put himself in that situation, but that is terrible. So then again, we all thought that the night was going to go fine and everything, but then Marlo, she talks to Candy and she's like, okay, everybody, so we all talked about our problems, our marriages, our relationships, but Candy, I want to talk about you and Todd. Now, I know that you're really obsessed with this sex stuff, and you and Todd, you two haven't really been having sex a lot, and I'm like, ooh, Marlo takes another dig at Candy and Todd's relationship by stating that neither one of them are having sex with each other, and that's probably why Candy is so antsy and she wants to experiment using the group instead of her own husband, and she always wants to put this whole sex thing down everybody's throats, right? Because that's her brand, and I'm like, wow, Marlo, that's a big thing to throw out there, and I'm so shocked that Candy was just so playful with it, because I'm like, Candy, well, Marlo is saying, I mean, there is some truth to it, because Candy, yes, that is her brand, you know, the dungeon, the sex toys, everything, all of that, and I'm okay with that. But the thing is, well, Marlo is saying that she doesn't feel comfortable that Candy gave them the package like 2 episodes ago, or 3 episodes ago, 1 episode ago, however many episodes ago. The 2 people from Candy's family, they came to everybody's house to deliver these packages, and inside there were some vibrating panties, and Candy, apparently she wants them to wear them while they go to the play. And I'm like, but what does the play on Broadway have to do with you wearing vibrating panties? Like, where's the plot correlation? I'm still trying to understand that. Like, I don't understand Candy. I mean, I get it. Like, you're trying to promote this and you're trying to promote these vibrating panties because you know that somebody out there is going to buy them. But I mean, in this scenario, in this way, no, you could have done it yourself. Maybe we could have gotten a scene between just you and Todd. You could wear them or something, like something sexy between you and Todd. But for you to kind of force it on the group, and I'm okay with Candy, you know, I'm okay with anybody being as sexual as you want. You could do whatever you want. You could promote whatever you want. You could get your money whatever way you want it, right? But at the same time, Candy, I don't know, it's just, you're also crossing a boundary with the women, and I feel like all the women should also speak up if they feel uncomfortable and not just go along with it just because, oh, I want to support Candy and her business. I don't want to be a hater. Like, if I say something that this is too much or it's, you know, uncomfortable or it's making me uncomfortable and it's making me something that I'm not used to, I'm gonna look like a lame. And that's probably what all the women feel like, except Kenya. Kenya actually, you know, she stood 10 toes with what she believed in, but we'll get into it. Candy, her excuse, which was a very sorry one, she's like, well, I just feel like, Marlo, even though you're just being lame, I think that you just need to get fucked. And I'm like, Candy, I mean, no, Marlo's not being lame. Marlo is the last thing from lame. She is cool, but again, it's just, I understand what she's saying because Candy, you are doing a little bit too much, but we'll get into that when it happens later on the van, because we see Candy meeting up with the producer and the PR guy to her Broadway play, and they're telling her that there's so many people that are coming from out of state to New York to watch her play on Broadway specifically, and that there's a lot of great reviews for it. So I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear that for Candy. I hope that this is a door that Candy opens, that not only that she could produce one Broadway play, but she could produce multiple ones after this one. You know, at this point, just take over Times Square while you're at it. And speaking of Times Square, we see Kenya and Sonia. They're walking around New York City, and it was just so nice to see them walking around in the New York City atmosphere. I mean, I saw a bunch of garbage bags just sitting there behind Kenya. I'm like, oh, look at that. That's been sitting out there for like 3 days. Over there behind Sonia, I saw a couple of rats just running around looking for food. And then over there, I saw 2 people fighting over parking. It was just so nice. I mean, New York City, the best city in the world. Sonia tells Kenya that she's very familiar with the city of New York because she had to stay there for 2 years when her husband, Aaron, had to play for the football team, the New York Giants. She also goes on to say that she's very attracted to her husband for many different reasons, but the one reason that really did something to her was the night that he won the Super Bowl. And honestly, there's another turn on here that your husband brings onto the show, Sonia, and I feel like it's his mysteriousness, the fact that we don't really know much about him at all. We just see him in the background. He's not really saying too much. He doesn't really chit-chat. He just stays to himself and he just eats and he minds his business. That also adds curiosity to the audience, at least, like, huh, who is he? Who is he? Who's that boy? La 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 la. So hopefully when he does open his mouth eventually, he doesn't say something stupid like Ralph and have us all like, we were so close. That's what I'm hoping for, because again, that is what makes him attractive. Like, oh, I don't really know much about you, and you seem like a good guy. You haven't said anything that will contradict that. So hopefully, Aaron, please don't let me down. I can't go through another Louis, Tom Girardi, or Zeph from Salt Lake City. Like, come on, you have to break the mold of like trash ass husbands on this show. Ralph, he was close until he opened up his mouth, and then it was history. So they continue talking. Then Kenya, she goes on to say how Mark is treating her and the whole situation with Brooklyn. We all know Mark is just toxic, and I just wish that Kenya could somehow file for like full custody. Maybe that's a possibility or something. But again, she doesn't want to do it because, you know, she wants her daughter to also be raised with her dad. Understandable, but at the same time, Kenya, you're also tearing yourself up to try to please your daughter. I don't know. It's just a very sticky situation. There must be some type of resolution in that situation itself. And then the conversation gets brought over to Drew. And then Sonya, there goes Sonya again, making something at like a 1 into a 10. And she's like, I can't stand Drew. Yeah, she's such a fake ass bitch. I can't stand her either. Like, she should be going at it with Anthony. Like, why is she going at it with Sheree? I just cannot stand her. She's such a terrible friend. You know what? I will outrace her in any race. Like, I will put all my gold medals up on the line on a race with her. And I'm like, Sonya, relax. Like, why are you so upset at Drew? I just don't understand that. I mean, at this point, the way I see it is she's looking at it like, okay, everybody else is piling up on Drew. Why not add my 2 cents in? Because we all know that Drew has been made a fool of on this show already. And it's only, what, episode 5? By her husband, her therapist, the women, Sheree, Kenya at some point last season. So Sonya is probably looking at this opportunity like, you know what? In order to secure my peach for next season, I think I'm going to go at it with Drew for no reason. I mean, I get what she's saying and I understand to a certain extent, but it's just like there's no reason to be so upset the way Sonya is. If anything, Sheree should be upset, and Sheree squashed it with her. So I don't get, Sonya, why you're so upset about it. And as of now, as of like the real time now, Sonya and Drew are currently going at it on Twitter, and you should go see what they're saying to each other. Cause and then Kenya, she brings up Drew's what was it, her thing? Drop It with Drew. I already told you that she should have named her thing from Drop It with Drew to Drop Ralph and Go Away. Like that's the way it should have been called. But she goes on to say that Drew had a tummy tuck and a breast lift, and I'm like, Drew, so what's the point of your workout thing if you're gonna, you know, just be promoting this false advertisement like, oh, this is how I got my body done, but really you went to Mexico to go get it done? Like, it's not making sense. What are you gonna do next? Like, promote tummy tea on Instagram? Like, no, Drew. If anything, if I was you, I would just come out with a book about my life, like a memoir, and I would call it like Life with My 10 Assistants. And, you know, each chapter could be like a chapter about you and the relationship that you have with one of your assistants or something like that. You know, that would be like 10 cute chapters. It'd be a nice book, but the whole workout thing, you need to drop it. And Sonya, you also need to drop this whole, I'm going to be mad at Drew. Like, I get it, but at the same time, no. The more I saw them interact with each other and walk around the city of New York, the more I thought, instead of that idea that they have going on with rebooting the Real Housewives of New York or the other idea of the Legacy season, I feel like they should dump both those seasons in the garbage and reboot the Real Housewives of New York with the cast of Atlanta. Like, have all of them move from Georgia to New York. Bravo, you could like pay for their condos or houses or apartments or whatever up in the sky and have them live there for like a year or two and maybe like film them, and they could be the new Housewives of New York and they could hold apples. I don't know. It was just something refreshing about seeing them walking around New York. It was just so nice to see, and I would be here for it instead of the other two lame ideas that they have going on. We also get a small conversation between Kandi and Sheree. Candy's asking Sheree, so Sheree, are we gonna be able to meet Tyrone tomorrow? Is he gonna come to New York City and support my play? I'm looking forward to meeting him. And Sheree's just like, so we put in this request that he could travel for 100 miles, but we're staying like 94.5 miles away, and we just don't want to risk it. But you'll meet him eventually, one day maybe. You won't meet him at all, but you know you'll meet him next week. No, he's coming for tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. He's coming next week. Yeah, no, he's coming one of these days. I believe Christmas, Halloween, Valentine's Day. You'll see him eventually. And I'm like, so is he coming or not? Like, Sheree loves to talk in circles and give us nothing. But according to Sheree, Tyrone can leave Philly, but he can only leave as far as 100 miles. Anything above that is too much. And I'm not sure what's going to happen after that. I mean, I'm assuming that the police are going to get him and bring him back to Philly if he goes outside those boundaries. But if he comes to New York, it'll put him at 94.5 miles, I believe. And Sheree and Tyrone, they don't want to risk it. And I'm like, that is so unfortunate. That must really, really suck to just be there and you're so close, but you can't really walk too much because then something's gonna happen. It's almost like the game on Netflix, the Squid Game. Like, it's kind of like playing red light, green light. Like, green light, okay, I'm on my way to New York. I see the play. Red light, and you can't go any further. Like, that must truly, truly suck. And Sheree, at this point, you're dating a telephone because you're making all these plans and promising these women, like, oh, you're gonna meet him, you're gonna meet him, you're gonna meet him, and boom, nothing. You end up having clown makeup every single episode, especially at the end of this episode. And by the way, whoever came up with the name of the episode, She by Herself, you have a very, very, very special place in hell for you. When I read that, I'm like, wow, that was probably one of the most catchiest titles to any of the Housewives episodes in a very long time. I'm like, wow, she by herself. But okay, so then Candy, she was also shady in the confessional, and I'm like, where is this coming from? Candy was just like, well, maybe his excuse to not come to New York City was because he's really truly gonna be with another woman. And I'm just like, now Candy, where is that coming from? I mean, I know you don't want to talk about affairs when Todd is right there, but okay. And, you know, Candy, what I find so interesting is that she's been much, much more shadier this season than the previous season, because usually she's shady here and there, but I feel like this season, she probably thought like, okay, I really need to bring it. I really need to bring something because they're probably going to give me the boot next season if I don't really have a lot of camera time. And I feel like, you know, she's just amping it up a little bit more because it was just so uncalled for. But okay, everyone reunites to have dinner before heading out to go see Candy's play later on that night. So as they're in the restaurant, Kenya, she's sitting in the middle. She asks Marlo for her jacket. She's feeling a little cold. Marlo, she makes a moment out of it. She's like, you know what? Ever since I got into my archive business, I really have gotten a soft spot for helping other people. I know how to cater to other people. So then Sonya's like, wait, Marlo, so have you catered to people that we know, or have you styled them? People that we know in TVs or movies? And Marlo's like, yeah. I styled this guy named Jazzy Faye. Do you know him? He's the producer to Goodies by Sierra. You know my song Goodies? That's my goodies. That's my goodies. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's impressive. But then Candy jumps in and she's like, well, that's not the only thing that you've done, Marlo. And Marlo's just like, true. Like, Marlo, it's okay. Just say that you're a mistress and move on. But she goes on to say that she had a little fling with Jazzy Faye. I'm not too familiar to who he is, but I'm sure I'm pretty familiar with his music. So she goes on to say that, yeah, I wanted to have something with him, but he had a girlfriend at the time, and now it was not about to be a side piece or anybody's secret. And I'm like, okay, but you know, that's neither here nor there. That's Marlo. That's what she says. So then Kenya, she brings up the conversation to Candy, and she's like, so Candy, who's the most famous person that ever hit on you? And Todd, he gets defensive and he's like, wait, Kenya, not too much because I'm gonna fuck them up. And I believe it too. But then Candy, she goes on to say, I looked up his name. His name is Gerald Levert. I don't think I've heard of him, but she was in a relationship with him. The question gets brought over to Drew, and this is where things get a little bit interesting because Drew is just like, oh, well, I was in a relationship with somebody, the king of NBA, and they kept blurring his name out. I'm assuming that Bravo didn't want to get sued by LeBron James because I'm assuming that's the person that they kept blurring out, right? So then Drew, she goes on to say, yeah, I was in a relationship with LeBron James, allegedly. You know, and every time before his games, he will listen to my music. And I'm like, stop right there. Lies detected. That's all I needed to hear from Drew to figure this whole story out. I'm like, I could have possibly believed it, but as soon as she said that, I'm like, no, LeBron is not listening to your music. What music? I mean, then again, I don't even want to play Drew too much because I was obsessed with one of her songs back in the day. I think it was called Slow It Down. That was one of my favorite songs by Drew. So Drew, I'll give you that. But I mean, to say that LeBron was listening to your music and that's the reason why he was winning all his basketball games, I'm not sure. What do y'all think? Do y'all believe that? Do y'all think that there's some type of truth to that? I mean, then again, why would Drew just put that out there in the universe for everybody to like decipher and see like, oh, was LeBron really with her? Like, I don't know. If anything, Bravo, here's another idea. Get LeBron's, I mean, is LeBron, I don't know much about basketball, but does he have a wife? Bring his wife onto the show. Make her a housewife for next season and see how that goes on. But Sonya, in her confessional, she's like, wait, wasn't LeBron always with the girl that he's with now since high school? Like, the timeline doesn't make sense unless this was some type of affair, allegedly. And then Kenya had me dying. Kenya's like, no, I think everybody has the name confused. I think who she really meant was Laquan. And I'm like, Laquan who? Like, Kenya, just let Drew go on with her delusions. I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, Ralph is not the only liar in that relationship. But then again, Drew might be telling the truth. Who knows? We don't really know what goes on behind closed doors or in Drew's mind. So that's that. And then the question goes back to Kenya. Kenya goes on to say that Prince, he actually hit on her. And I can believe it because Kenya, I mean, she's always been beautiful. Even now, she's still stunning. But back in the 90s and early 2020s, 2000s, Kenya was still stunning, so I can definitely see Prince going up to her like, hey, Kenya, how are you? Like, imagine that. They would have been a really nice couple. And then I wish that we would have gotten an answer from Sonya. I don't think she answered. My answer would have been, let's see, let me look at my history of famous people that hit on me. Let's see, no, he wasn't famous. No, that guy, he wasn't famous. Nobody. But if you're watching this and you're famous, please slide into my DMs. We move over to everybody getting ready for Candy's play, and we see Candy in her room on FaceTime with all of the other women, and she's telling them, are you gonna wear your vibrating panties? Make sure you wear them, and make sure that you have the little remote control, because the control, if you press on it, it automatically makes the panties start vibrating. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we move down to the Sprinter. Everybody heads down to the van, and then this is where things get a little strange. As they're all waiting up for Kenya. Kenya's the last one. She's in her room complaining that her dress is not fitting. She's running around all over the place trying to find something to wear. Inside the van, Candy, she goes around asking everybody, are you wearing your panties? Are you wearing your panties? Are you wearing your panties? Make sure you're wearing your vibrating panties. Marlo, she tries to like fake it, and she's like, oh, yeah, it's vibrating right now. It feels so good. But obviously it was so fake. And Candy's just like, oh, come on, be a good sport and play along. Like, what is this? So lame, Marlo. And Marlo's just like, oh, okay, I'm not doing it. So then Candy, she goes down the line. Sonya, she has hers on. Drew, I believe she had her on. Sheree had me dying because Sheree was just like, oh, I have them on, but I left the remote control upstairs. And I'm like, so Sheree, you mean to tell me that you're just sitting there with vibrating panties on for what? What's the reason? That you should have just took them off? She said it so calmly too, like, yeah, I'm just wearing this like it's nothing. And then again, this is where things get strange because Sonya, she's standing up. Next thing you know, there's like a vibrating sensation in her panties. And she's like, wait, what is that? What is that? What is that? Like, and then you see her like getting so hyped up. And I don't know if she felt uncomfortable or something, but you could tell that, you know, her body was like reacting to it like heavily because she was like standing up and she was putting her hand down her pants. And she's like, wait, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And then Candy, this is where she explains to us and she drops it on us. She's like, oh yeah, the vibrating panties, it could be controlled by any remote control if it's nearby. And I'm like, Candy, that is very odd and very strange. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Sonya did not give anybody on this bus or any husband consent for them to be controlling their panties. Like, no. And I'm surprised. And I'm pretty sure that it was probably Ralph because Ralph was sitting there with a smirk on his face. And I mean, it could also be Todd, but given Ralph's history, I wouldn't put it past him. And then Ralph is just sitting there. And then Sonya's like slapping him like, stop, stop, stop. And again, I'm surprised that Aaron, her husband, didn't say anything because if he would have started a fight with Ralph on that bus, it would have been justified. Like, what are you doing to my wife? Like, it's not cool. The only situation that this whole situation could be cool and it could be like, okay, everybody's fine with it, is if in a way that they were not going to a play. You keep giving us the summary to it and it's supposed to be something inspirational and something emotional, yet you're wearing vibrating panties to it. Like, I just don't understand it. To a strip club, okay, I understand. And the other aspect, the other thing that I will see the situation as okay is if in a way that they were all sharing each other, in a way if they were all in open marriages and they were just like, okay, we're all just gonna exchange partners and we all have consent to that, then okay, like you could do whatever you want. But I don't think that Sonya gave her consent to anybody. I'm pretty sure that none of the women gave consent to anybody else on the bus to be controlling their vibrating panties like that. Like, that is just a little bit too much. And Candy, for you to find that fun, I just don't know. Kenya, she finally came down and she's like, I'm not doing this. I'm not gonna put on vibrating panties and have another person, another husband control my panties. But let it be Apollo on season 5. It'll be a whole different story. You know, Kenya has come a long way, but what do y'all think? The whole situation was just very, very strange. Candy, I get that you want to promote your vibrating panties or your sex line, but in this situation, heading to this place specifically, I don't know. I just don't think that the attention should have been focused on that. And one more thing about the vibrating panties situation on the bus. Sonya, when you put your hand down your pants to adjust your panties or whatever you were grabbing or whatever you were doing, when you took your hand back out, did you put hand sanitizer on? or some type of lotion or just anything, because I don't know, to me, I'm like, ew, that was gross. I mean, the act itself was already gross that somebody else was already controlling her panties, but the fact that she was just, just digging around there like it's, a bag of groceries, like, oh, let me look for the bag of chips or something, and she just took it out and just sat down like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like, no, like somebody, that whole bus needs to be scrubbed. After the play, they start cheering on Candy as they're walking back to the hotel, and they're telling her how amazing the play was. Kenya, she gives us a brief synopsis about the play and how it's based on 7 different emotions that a black man faces. And again, with that description, I'm still trying to figure out at what point did Candy think, it would be a good idea if we're all wearing vibrating panties in the audience of this inspirational play. Like, I just don't understand, Candy, at what point did you think that that was a good or appropriate time to do that? I mean, if anything, I think that she probably thought, we're already promoting my play. Let me promote another thing and double my profit. Let me introduce the vibrating panties. But again, you could have introduced us to anything else. It didn't have to be that, but okay, maybe it was just a whole marketing thing and it just went wrong. But they all head back to the hotel. Candy lets them know to put on their pajamas and to meet her on the second floor of the hotel. And I'm like, is this about to be a pillow talk part 2? But no, it was very, very, very watered down compared to that. So we get Sheree, Marlo, and Kenya first. They meet up together. They're wearing their pajamas, and right away they start clowning Drew because they're talking about her website and her fitness thing that she has going on. And they're like, how is it possible if she's not working out? She's going to get her body done, but yet she's promoting, like, let's work out. I have all this. I have all these meals, all these meal plans, et cetera, et cetera. So Marlo, she takes it upon herself and she's like, let me go on the website. She goes on the website and what happens? It doesn't work. And I'm like, come on now, Drew. Like, I'm trying to be here for you and I'm trying not to clown you every week, but every episode is just a new thing with you. Like, if it's not Ralph, it's you. If it's not you, it's Ralph. Like, come on now. Like, what's going on here? But I mean, Marlo, she goes on to say, oh, if it was the archive, my website works. The archive works for everybody. I design clothes for everybody. Everybody could rent out my clothes for anybody. Like, it's available to the whole public. And I'm like, now, Marlo, now, wait a minute, because just the first episode, they were clowning your website. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Kenya, she goes on to say, oh, if this was Kenya Moore hair care, it'll be no problem. It'll take you right to the product. Now, Sheree. Speaking of delusion, Sheree's just like, oh, my website, She by Sheree, when it finally goes up, everybody's going to be buying my product. And I'm like, it is insane to me how it's been like, 10 years? And this whole She by Sheree thing is still not really a thing. Like, I don't think that there's any type of merchandise or shirts or anything available to the public, at least not to my knowledge. And I'm like, you're still trying to make this happen. Like, Sheree, you should have capitalized off this like many years ago. Like, you should have had your own empire by now. But here we are. So then eventually Sonia and Aaron, her husband, they come up, Sonia comes up, and they're like, oh, have you two been like, naughty or whatever? It looks like it. And Sonia's like, no, not yet. And then I believe Drew, she comes in next with Ralph, and then Candy and Todd end up last. And I'm like, oh, this is a very, very, very watered down version of the pillow talk. I'm like, nobody's wearing lingerie. Nini's not walking around all over the place, like nothing. Like, I just watched that episode recently again, and every time I watch it, like my nerves are shot. But going back to this episode, so they're sitting down, Sonia, I don't know what's going on, Sonia, because I was liking you the other episodes, but I don't know what happened this episode, because she starts off, they want to talk about something, and Sonia, she's sitting next to Drew, and she's like, Drew, I need to talk to you about something, because I really don't like what you've been doing to Sheree and putting your hand in her face and all of that and all this and causing all this trouble with Anthony, your assistant, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, again, Sonia, what does this concern you? Sheree is right there. She solved her issues with Drew. I get it that you see how Drew is moving is funny to you and you don't like it because it could easily be done to you. But just leave it at that. Just say, okay, I don't like the way you're moving like that with your friendships. Please don't do that to me, or like fix it or try to see it from a different perspective. But that's it. But Sonia was getting so upset about it. And then Drew, she was confused. I think everybody in the room was confused. And Drew was just like, I'm confused. I really don't get it. And then Sonia was like, oh, well, I'm about to make you get it. And I'm like, now, wait a minute, Sonia. Those are fighting words. Like, what do you mean? Oh, I'm about to make you understand. I'm like, absolutely not. If I was Drew, I'm like, okay, so make me understand then. Let's get up. Let's go into the lobby. Let's go outside. Let's go back on Times Square or something. Like, don't talk to me like that. I don't know. Sonia, I don't know what's going on. The peach, you already had your peach secured for next season. You were cool, but here you were kind of, you were borderline desperate. And Drew, she's trying to understand. She really is. I was trying to understand Sonya too, but Sonya, her case is just flat to me. It's just coming off desperate, like you're reaching for something that's not really there. Even Candy was just like,
I just feel like Sonya's approach is just a little bit too much. I feel like maybe she should just write her things down first, and then maybe she could explain it after.
and honestly, that was it. And I don't think that they really got anywhere. I mean, Sonya, she still said that she's bothered by Drew and their friendship, etc., etc. And I'm like, okay, you could feel some type of way. I'm pretty sure Sonya is going to drag this out into a bigger issue until she pushes Drew's buttons just enough for Drew to get a reaction out of her. That way, Sonya's gonna be able to react the way she wants to Drew, and then cause a whole big blow up. I'm assuming that that's what she wants. So then I believe they start talking about Drew's website. Why are you getting surgeries? But yeah, you're promoting fitness and all this. And what's going on? And then Drew's just like, oh wait, my website is down? It must have crashed. So many people are on it. Oh, Drew, you know, it's one thing I can't appreciate about her is that she's so bubbly about everything. Like, even if she's lying, or, I mean, I don't know if she genuinely believes what she's saying, but, you know, whatever she says, it's always like bubbly, like, yeah. Like, she's always smiling about it. So I must give her that instead of just, you know, being miserable to all of the shady things that people are saying about her. I could see how it could get to her. But no, she takes it and she's like, yeah, it's fine. If anything, she takes it and comes up with another lie. Drew, she goes on to say that the reason why she got a mommy makeover was because something with a hernia, her body, health issues, etc., etc. And then she just went on and on and on. And just like Sonya a second ago, I did not understand anything she was talking about. I'm like, I still don't understand it. To me, it sounds like one of those Instagram boutique type of schemes, type of scams. Like, absolutely not. You're just trying to have me sign up or something, take my money, and then do what with it? Like, it sounded very Jen Shah to me. You know, Jen Shah from Salt Lake City. I'm like, Drew, don't get involved in the wrong business now. All right, everybody. So I'm looking at Drew's website right now. Drop It With Drew. So, I mean, the layout is cute. It's red. It says, Drop It With Drew, 21-day fat loss program. Hundreds have lost 10, 20, and 30 pounds. 100 what? People? Okay, but let's continue. So let's go down. So let's see. There's an at camp special. So that's gonna be it was 147. Now it's on sale, so it's at 127. Okay, I don't know where the camp is at. What, in Chicago, I'm assuming, or something? Whatever they were talking on the show. Let's see. And it also says virtual. There's a virtual way of working out. And it is $107. It was on 147. Now it's 10. Yeah, now it's 107. Imagine, I mean, I'm not paying for that. I could just look up YouTube videos on how to work out and stuff. Like, absolutely not. But, oh, she has a section here. It's called accountability. Now, how are you going to promote that when you don't even have your own husband to take accountability for his own actions? You don't even call him out on anything. And you're okay with his lies too. I mean, that's very interesting. And oh, here's some ratings and some reviews. I love the weight loss program, great fitness program. This is a great group of people I have ever worked out with. Oh, they're all relatives. I'm just kidding. I mean, Drew, if you're really doing this and it's all good for you and it's legit, then okay, fine. I'm just like checking it out. If anything, kudos to you for even having a website. I mean, that's more than I can do, so. Then we see Sheree heading over to Philly to finally meet up with Tyrone, and she's coming from New York, I believe. So that's about 2.5 hour drive. So Sheree, I hope it was worth it. So she gets to this little cafe. And first of all, I would have been mad with the waitress for sitting me outside because I'm about to be made a fool of for the next 2 hours, and you're putting me outside for the whole public to look at me? Absolutely not. You better put me on the inside so that way I could be a clown in peace. So she's sitting outside. The waitress comes by and she's like, do you want anything? Do you want anything? Sheree's like, no, it's fine. 20 minutes go by, right? First of all, 20 minutes, that's far too much for me. Like, I would have gave Tyrone maybe like 20 seconds before I would have left. I'm like, no, 20 minutes, that's beyond rude. So Sheree, she's like, actually, can you come back? Can you give me like a drink? Yeah, I'll have a drink. So then Sheree's sitting there with her drink. She's looking around. Then like a couple more minutes pass by, right? So she gets the waitress again. She's like, actually, can I get some coffee? I'll get something hot. Yeah, I'll get something hot. So, okay, so she's sitting there. A couple of more minutes pass by. I believe at this point, I think it's like half an hour already. So she calls the waitress back over and she's like, actually, can you just give me the menu? Like, Sheree, I feel so terrible. Like, you really sat there and filmed the entire time. I mean, I'm not sure if the editors were just being shady with the time. Like, oh, an hour passed by, an hour and 30 minutes. But she literally just sat there like this.
5 minutes later. 14 minutes later.
I'll take another coffee. Yeah, I'll take another coffee, yeah. Tyrone, is that you? Oh no, it was just a bird.
2 hours later.
I think he's coming. After 30 to 45 minutes, Sheree starts noticing that every time she calls up Tyrone, it keeps going to voicemail or it just keeps ringing on and on and on and she gets no reply from him. So she starts texting him like, where are you? Where are you? We just talked this morning. We just agreed to meet up today in Philly. What's going on? So she gets suspicious about it. So she calls up her daughter. She's like, so wait, what happens when you call another phone and it just keeps going to voicemail? Like, what does that mean? And her daughter's like, uh-oh, I need to get off the phone quickly. It means you're blocked. I gotta go. Grandma's calling. So she gets off the phone with her mom. Sheree's just left her so stuck. And it's just truly, truly, truly heartbreaking because even though Sheree did piss me off these last 2 episodes with her whole gay comments that she made about Ralph and repeating those ignorant comments, I still feel bad for her because I've always loved Sheree. And I know that she is so wrapped up with Tyrone for some reason. I'm not sure what she sees in him. I mean, again, she has never given me the insecure vibe to just like be with somebody just to be with somebody. And it's just so sad to see her in this situation. Like, she is just so wrapped up in his love bubble. Oh, Teresa is getting into my head. She is so wrapped up in her love bubble that she's just willing to like just be okay with anything. And I'm pretty sure that she'll take him back even after this whole situation, regardless of whatever his sorry ass excuse is. So she's sitting there after I believe it was like an hour and 30 minutes. And I'm like, that is way too much. First of all, he would have had me pissed already to drive into Philly. I mean, have you seen the gas prices? And you want me to drive to Philly from New York? Absolutely not. And then you don't show up? That's the biggest red flag right there to break up. No. Gas prices are worth breaking up with your significant other for whoever's watching. So she's sitting down there, and again, an hour and 30 minutes turns into, I believe, 2 hours. And then the producer finally comes by, and he's like, Sheree, I don't think Tyrone's coming. So it feels like kind of like they're breaking the fourth wall. So Sheree's like, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean? We still have to film a scene. I still have to get paid. The producer's like, I'm sorry, you're only going to get maybe like 50% of your paycheck because this is kind of like a not really good scene right here. And Tyrone's not here. He was supposed to be part of your scene. So we just got a call from his parole officer and he said that something like this looks fishy or whatever and some legal issues so he can't come. And I'm like, so what exactly about the situation looked fishy? I mean, if everything was a go and it's in Philly, it's not like it's in a different state. Why would it be suspicious or why would it look, fishy or anything to the police or whoever's watching or the parole officer? Sheree's pissed. She's like, okay, fine, whatever. And I just know she felt so humiliated and so stupid just sitting there like, wow, I really have like egg on my face. I would feel pissed. I would feel lonely. I would just feel humiliated. I would probably feel a little hungry. And then she's like, you know what? I have to call somebody. So she calls up Kenya. Kenya's in a car somewhere. And she's like, hey, how are you? Like, what's going on? Like, how's Tyrone? And Sheree's like, I just been here like for like an hour, for like 2 hours, and he hasn't shown up. And if you listen closely, you could tell that her voice was really wanting to break. Like, you could tell that she just wanted to like spiral out of control and just cry it all out. But she probably held it together because these cameras are watching her and they're all in her face. And she's like, I can't believe this. This is the last straw. This is the 50th straw. And then Kenya's like, well, I understand that like this is unacceptable. Do you want me to like, look for flights or something for you to come back to Atlanta? And I love that Kenya was being supportive. It's just so interesting how the dynamic between Kenya, Marlo, and Sheree, how they all just went through it like in past season. And now they're just kind of like, like they're forming a bond together. And I like that she was there for her. And Sheree, she just starts crying. She gets emotional. She's like, this is just humiliating. This is stupid. Like, I can't believe that this happened to me. And again, it was just really sad. Would y'all have stayed, like, if y'all were in Sheree's position, like, would you stay in her position if this happened to you? Like, after maybe 20 minutes, would you still wait a little bit longer, maybe 30 minutes? I don't know. In my experience, what's the longest that I've waited? 2 minutes. Like, absolutely not. But, that was it, Sheree. Again, I can only say I hope you and Drew are not having a race to the top of, who could be humiliated on the show the furthest this whole entire season. And that was that, everybody. What did everybody think about this episode? And do you agree with what Sonya's argument is with Drew? I mean, do you see her perspective, or do you think that she's just doing too much, or do you think that she has a point? I'm not sure. And what do y'all also think about the whole vibrating panty situation? Please let me know down in the comments. And what would you have done if you were in Sheree's position? I mean, would you leave Tyrone? Would you give him another chance? Would you be a little bit more understanding? Would you have even waited at the cafe for longer than 20 minutes? Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Bye, everybody. Mwah.